appropriate.
Yeah,
So, okay, I'll just turn it over to you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and making this long trip.
Thank you for having us. It's really a pleasure to be here. So really excited about today's talk / workshop, and tomorrow's hands-on workshop. How many of you are planning to be here tomorrow as well? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so not all of overlap as much as we thought, so that's good. Today we're going to look at things more of like a theoretical perspective, presentational perspective. We'll look at some of the things that we have done, some of the ways, some of the approaches that we've had, how we, the decision we did. And tomorrow we're really going to look at getting from start to finish making a video. And so I believe that tomorrow will be recorded as well. So if you're, maybe not.
maybe not.
If you have interest in talking about that too, you can just reach out to us and we can just feel you.
You guys will get some hands-on stuff today too. We're not just going to lecture you guys for 2 hours, so don't worry.
So let's get started by getting to know who you are and what you want to get out of this. Let's maybe spend 5 minutes and get in groups of 2 or 3 and answer these couple of questions. What's your experience with using and or producing video for the language classroom? And if you do have experience, you can talk about types of video. You can talk about how did you select, how did you decide what videos to make, and how did you decide how to produce them. What equipment do you use? What is your workflow? What do you hope to learn from today? And also, in talking with some of the people here earlier, we realized that a lot of you guys have a lot of questions about flipped classroom too. So we were not necessarily planning on talking about flipped classroom principles, but obviously there's a lot of overlap with flipped classroom and video production. So if you want to, we've got materials for that too, so we can go through this more quickly and address more of the principles beyond flipping the classroom. Just let us know. We are flexible. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. So let's talk about these questions for a few minutes and then we'll come back to that Thursday. Let's maybe go around a few groups. Anybody that has some experience with video production and or use in the language classroom? Yes.
Yeah, so I worked for a company in Germany called Lingua TV, and they were producing videos that were shown online. So what I did for them is I wrote the scripts, I designed a story, and then I was also the actress in the film. And so I was not behind the camera, but I had a look at the whole process. But I don't know how I would do this now as a teacher already for my student.
Cool. So, but you already have a lot of experience with the planning and the scripting, which is actually the most important thing. So that's really good. Very cool. Anyone else?
Well, I just give my students video projects, so they
work on videos.
Yeah, they produce their videos and they do more or less elaborate things. There is not everybody, the idea is not having them produce movies, so that it's more like a linguistic exercise. But some of them come up with very cool stuff and very well done. And I think that with they can also edit at some point. Like you do it quite a film production or something, and it looks quite.
And so then, are these assignments that turn in and you evaluate?
Yes.
Okay. So these videos are for a purpose of evaluating students.
Yes.
Very cool. Anybody else?
So if I use videos that are already made, you don't have to be involved in the production of it. Like, hey, I'm going to go to YouTube and grab some stuff and bring it in. That's okay. We're not saying that's bad. Yeah?
Yeah, so I, for instance, I've created some activities for students to do before going to class where they watch a video and they need to describe an action that's going on in the video, typing in the comment section, and then to explain what they need to do, I record myself speaking and giving instructions to the students. Sometimes the instructions, you can hear the sound as the video, the YouTube video is playing.
Okay, cool.
I do use video clips from music every day in my class. Like before class, kind of a warming up before we start.
Okay.
And I realized that my students really like it. I started doing it like 3 years ago. And sometimes we talk about a little bit, like 1 or 2 minutes about something in the video. And then I'm using also videos from Yabla. And those are like incorporated with the topics we learn in class.
Okay. So you kind of do it more just like at the beginning of class and then go.
With the music videos at the beginning, and the other ones is they are in the middle of the class. Sometimes for the beginning, and sometimes like evaluation, some kind of listening, comprehension.
Yeah. So going on to the second questions, what are the things that you really hope to get out of this today? And if anyone talked about whether you'd like us to give a refresher on the fifth classroom or not, so it'd be a great time to share that too.
I guess how to use videos in the most efficient way possible in the classroom, and also how to create videos on my own for them, or design a project where they would design a video that I could afterwards create.
Yeah. Okay.
So anybody want to tackle the flipped classroom at least a little bit first? I think we all good. Maybe yeah. Well, how about we do it really quickly? I think it will help us make better choices, more informed choices when we do get to this video thing. Because we haven't talked about this yet, so we'll come back to this, but what is our criteria? Like, okay, I'm just going to get a video, like, what is my rationale for using a certain video? Is it just because it's fun? Are students, is there some learning objective tied to it? How does that play out if we have a flipped classroom? Is anyone teaching in sort of a flipped model or a hybridized model? No? Everyone fully face-to-face? Students come in? Fully online? Okay. Great. Alright, so we're going to just take like 10-15 minutes and go over this. We've got some good activities too, so I think you guys will like them. Alright, so we're going to start here. So every time we talk about the flipped classroom, we want to make sure we're very clear and we all have terminology that has the same definition, because sometimes things get mixed up and then we can't have good discussion because of that. So the very first thing, and we get this a lot, is, hey, if I've got some technology in my class, it's a better class, right? Students will like it, this is going to be really easy to interact with them, but technology does not make our class any better. A video does not make your class any better than if you don't have a video. Only you can make your class better. We have to start there every time because if you do something really well, and we think this kind of makes sense, right? So if we start using bad video or we don't use it correctly, sometimes it has the potential to make class worse than if we didn't even use it at all. So we want to be very mindful of that.
And we actually see that a lot. Teachers that have had mixed sex in the classroom, they start doing things online, and all of a sudden all the problems pop up because technology has this thing to like shedding light where the problems are. So just injecting technology in what you do doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to make it better. Probably will actually bring up some of the problems that you're working with.
So the other thing we have to make sure, a lot of time we say, hey, we're going to talk about the flipped classroom, and everybody immediately says video, right? And obviously we're talking about video, so maybe we're partial to this. But flipped and technology first are not synonymous. You can flip your classroom without using any sort of technology. I can give someone a worksheet to do before they come to class in preparation instead of having a homework after that just summarizes what we've done. Same thing, flipped can be done without any videos whatsoever. We think they're a great way when used effectively that really help get at the goals of the flipped classroom.
And also making videos does not mean that you're flipping the classroom. Just because you record your lecture and put it online, it doesn't necessarily mean you're flipping the classroom.
Right. So as we've seen, they are very complementary. And then third things first. Just so overall, on the same page. So the situation we have is very different from your situation, right? We have different administration, all sorts of different factors. So we're going to explain to you a little bit about what we've done and what your job then is to figure out, well, how do we apply that here at our university? How do we convince different people, oh, we have different resources, different ways of going about it. So we're going to give you something that might seem like, oh, how could we ever do that? And we're going to try to find some ways to bridge what we show you. Yeah, come to the workshop, it'll help. All right, so very quickly, and I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time. So in a traditional classroom, basically what happens is we present, in the classroom space, we present information. We might have a little bit of time for practice, then the application really happens. Afterwards, students do traditional homework, and this is to verify that they've learned everything that happened in the classroom. This is true of language courses, this is true of courses outside of language too. We won't talk about the problems, but one of the biggest is this delayed feedback. If I give a homework assignment on Tuesday, students bring it back to me on Wednesday, maybe I grade it on Thursday, I give it back to them on Friday. How is this ever really going to do anything for this? How's that beneficial for the student? Kind of goes back to the question we saw with T with BBP, is feedback necessary? Is it beneficial? And it kind of plays into that too. So basically what happens is in the traditional, we present at school, we do a little bit of practice, and then most of the application is done at home. Teachers have the Atlas complex in a traditional classroom. I'm in charge. I have a wealth of knowledge, and it's my job to impart all of that knowledge on my students. That's kind of inherent in this. You come to class and I present information. I have all the answers, and you have to come to me for that. I'm responsible for student learning, right? We might not ever say that, but it kind of feels like that, right? I have to make sure I present every single aspect of the Spanish language, or my students are going to fail in life. You know, if I don't give them every single form of everything, we don't cover all of these topics, how are they going to learn? We can talk about that later if you want. What we've done at MSU, we've cut out a lot of things. The traditional student basically absorbs all of this knowledge that comes from me. They follow all the rules, and they have to learn, right? So the traditional roles, what happens is the teachers start to assume too much responsibility. And in this paradigm, students start assuming kind of less and less, right? I'll just show up. If the teacher doesn't give it to me, then I'm not responsible for it. We kind of want to break that mold. So it's not just the flipped classroom where we talk about a physical space. There's also, so basically with the flipped classroom, this presentation, even practicing, happens outside of the classroom. Happens before, happens after, however we want to describe that. Students are encountering new information, they're investigating, they're practicing with it. When we get to the classroom, now this is a time where we can apply all of this. So kind of a fundamental shift there. So flipped homework is basically helping students to prepare for interaction when we have this time together. So we see here that now at home, school, however you're doing this, we have the first recognition, comprehension, and then this application happens in the classroom. We think that's a better use of time, especially in language learning, right? So it's easy for students to watch videos, to look at vocabulary lists. Like, we don't have to do that in class, right? Is it worth all of our time if I stand up here and say, this is a cup, no, this is a pen, this is a phone? Is that the best use when we're all together? Because the hardest thing for teaching languages is working with that discourse, the interaction. The easiest place for that to happen is in the classroom. So basically with this model, we're trying to maximize the amount of interaction that we can have in the classroom. So we flip. Basically, flip teachers now responsibility is to provide access to learning. And this is probably easier for us to stomach at the university level. We talk about this sometimes with high school teachers, and they're like, whoa, hands shoot up, because parents have very different ideas. So now we kind of, at least more or less, we're working with adults. So it's a little bit easier for us to digest this here. So flip students obviously have a very different role. Now they are in charge of their learning. So they're responsible and they're active. It might not seem big on paper, but it really is different in terms of the attitudes. So the student then assumes the responsibility of learning again, and we're here to facilitate the process. Super easy?
One question. Are practice and application always different?
No, that's just kind of a way to put it up there, yeah. So, I mean, we can talk about this in the language context or outside. So, I would say more of like a comprehension for practice and more of an interaction. For us would probably be better vocabulary talking about language acquisition in the classroom. But yeah, good question. Any other quick questions? All right, it's easy, right? We prepare explanations, we do activities. Students are responsible for everything now, and we're done.
Well, that leads me to one question. Are there textbooks that you know of that are actually flipping the classroom in their design?
I don't know of any specifically. And what we've done at Michigan State, we've taken a textbook that is not a flipped textbook by any means, but we have flipped all of the content. We had to make a lot of supplemental content to be able to support that flipped model. But in probably almost every one of our situations, it's going to be modifying material that's already up
I
there.
think that in probably most cases, you could flip using any textbook, but you would find that there's not enough material in there. So you always going to have to like supplement that with something else. But theoretically, most textbooks can serve that purpose.
So we're going to give you an example. Oh,
I
one more question.
don't really agree because if the textbook is designed for like some sort of traditional type of learning, it might not work. You know, like you have to basically produce tons of material.
Right. So there's going to be certain textbooks will need a lot more supplement. Certain textbooks will need some less, but I think all textbooks eventually, even the best ones, need you to create a lot more materials on the side.
Yeah, every time we talk about hybridization or flipped, anytime we get this personalized class, there aren't really good global classes that work for this. It's almost always individualized with every institution, at least a little bit. Isn't there a Teams BVP episode on this? Episode like 3 or 4, it's talking about the role of textbooks.
Well, yeah, there is, but we didn't record it. It's coming up again then.
Stay tuned. All right, so we're going to take a look the theory. So we're going to walk you backwards through. So basically our context, Spanish at MSU, we have a 4-credit class. Students meet for 3 credit hours, and then 1 credit hour is online. And so we use that online hour in like the flipped model. So we have class Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So students do about 20 minutes of work every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday before coming to class as preparation for what we do in class. We have a homework that kind of synthesizes the week every Saturday. So for us, this is great because students are getting something every single day of the week, which we really like. But it's not a big burden. It's palatable. So our syllabus is set up. We try not to say, okay, we're doing the present tense. Hey, kids, come to class. We're going to learn about the present tense. So like, okay. There's adverbs. So we always try to have a goal activity that the students see that they're focused on. So here we're going to say, by the end of class, if you come to class today, you should be able to do this. No? We have kind of a can-do statement system based off the ACTFL standards, modified for what we do. So expressing at what age you think certain things typically happen. So it's an activity in the textbook, so we're using the textbook here kind of to anchor this. So we're going to show you the activity quickly, and then we're going to work backwards to see what we do to get there. You guys remember this movie?
Mhm.
It's kind of old now, right?
Yeah.
The guy going backwards. All right, so this is in Spanish. Also, all of our classes are 100%, just so you have a context, 100% in Spanish. Zero English. Maybe a joke here or there, I don't know. To kind of keep them engaged at least every once in a while. We have no explicit grammar teaching in the 100 and 200 level, so that kind of will help you see what we're doing. So this is an activity that's just a couple months into our 101 class. So basically, we're kind of doing some information gap type stuff. We're always involving the students and their lives. So we come in, this is the end goal, so this is the last activity we do. So basically, we want to figure out what people think the typical age in this country is for certain events. So, when do people in the United States, boys and girls, have their first boyfriend or girlfriend? What age is typical? When do we drink our first beer? When do we graduate from university? When do we get married? Have our first child, grandchildren, retire? And kind of what is the life expectancy, right? So take 2 minutes with somebody and compare answers. So we're going to do this a little bit faster. First, in our class, students write down the number they think. And then what we do is then they compare. But we're just going to jump over that a little bit so you guys can talk really quickly. What do you think the typical age is? Very quickly. So, in the United States. Alright, let's see what you guys think really quickly. So this is our goal. In class, this is all Spanish. The students are talking, okay, it's this age, we're gonna come back. So what do you guys think? When is it typical to have your first boyfriend or girlfriend?
13.
13.
We don't know, we said 15.
15.
14 to
13, 14, 15, okay. First beer, 21, right? we have to say that.
No.
4 or 5.
Okay, what's the real answer?
17.
17, 15, 4 or 5. Graduate from the university. This keeps going up and up, right?
21.
22.
20, 23. To get married?
24? Some people really get married.
24, right after you graduate. Graduate and get married.
We said 25 seconds.
25 to get married. Okay, that's right.
I would say 30.
First child?
Too late. After 30.
After 30, sometime after 30.
I don't know. You're very soon.
Yeah.
This is interesting, right? Grandchildren?
60.
60? 50? You guys are to retire?
70.
70s. Now it's kind of like never, right? Can't put it in years on that. Life expectancy?
90.
100. This is very interesting when you hear like students talk about this too, right? They're like, oh man, 50, that's so old. 40, like, oh my gosh, I can't even think about it. Or like, getting up there. So we're talking about this. I'll start talking about when certain things happened in my life. I'll ask certain people. They're not to a lot of these yet, but when did you do this? So we're getting a lot of different varied input. So they're not just hearing one thing over and over and over again. not just questions. They'll compare their answers, see if they agree with each other. And then what we do is we take a look at what happens in the United States, and then kind of to bring something cultural into this too, we look at the typical ages in Spain. Just kind of compare them, see what's typical. So you guys said 13 to 16, something like that. 15 is the typical age. So there was a survey that we're pulling this data from. In Spain, it was 14. Okay, are we similar? United States, Spain? Yeah. So we're getting all of these comparison things in here too. First beer?
5.
14.
First sip.
First sip, right? The next sip doesn't come until like 14.
Yeah, the next sip takes 10 years to happen.
Yeah.
Spain?
Well, it's different.
13.
First different. First.
Alright, so we're just checking out here. Graduate, you guys are on point. 22 in Spain.
26.
23, 24, 20. It's a lot more. They're taking their time over there, right? A little different system. To get married. 26. In Spain.
35.
Yeah.
33. No hurry whatsoever.
Yeah. Nowadays.
First child.
27.
Now this always sparks a few English comments, but 25, right? So the average age to have a child is younger than the average age to get married. So kind of showing a modern, not a traditional values like before 35 in Spain. Actually, I hit some of these other ones. Let me bring them up real quick. Grandchildren, 50 in the United States, 65 in Spain.
Yep.
So we're all kind of on par, and then all of a sudden things just start to extend, right? Retire. These are a few years old, so I think it's a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Okay, so Spain, they're waiting on everything, but then when it's time to retire, they're right back on. Right? Very interesting. Life expectancy, 78. Oh no. 81. Kind of fun activity, right? Do you guys know what the goal of this activity for us is in class?
Practices numbers.
We were trying to figure out how in the world do we practice the numbers 30 to 100. It's so boring. Hey class, come to 30 to 100. We're gonna... Calendars don't really work anymore. That's good from 1 to 30. And so here, how many numbers were you guys throwing out? All over the place. Getting tons of input on these. So we're going to show you very quickly how we got here, and then we're going to flip back to some of the video stuff and apply this model. So what we do at Michigan State is, so that's our end goal in class. I don't have our whole, what we do in the classroom hour, but we're scaffolding activities up to that. This is what students do on their own before coming to class. This is the flipped part. So they have an online textbook. Isn't the greatest thing, but it does give them the opportunity to be able to click and at least hear the numbers. So before we even get to our exercises, what we do is we tell them, hey, go read your book. Check out what's going on there, click on the numbers, listen to them, begin to recognize them. All of this is on the student. We're not producing anything yet. So it's their job to get this initial presentation, we could say, of the vocabulary, this initial recognition stage. That is all on them. So I'm not sitting here making videos where I count to 100. It's not really a good use of my time, right? This already exists, we're going to use this. So then what we do, I'll scroll down. Where's that going, the mouse? So all of these supplemental activities are the ones that we created. So a lot of these are audio. We have some video, but we're going to start with the audio to show you that not everything flipped has to be a video. So here you go. Before proceeding on the next set of activities, study the vocabulary, click, listen to the words and phrases, familiarize yourself with this before you try to do the activities that we have. So here we're starting to hit at the comprehension level. Everything that we do here is some sort of meaning-based thing, so it's not recognition anymore. This isn't translation, this isn't identification. So here we are going to type in the number that we hear. We haven't tested the audio yet, we'll see how long this works.
32.
That's super easy, right? So this is fairly basic.
32.
They're just hearing it now. Okay, now I have to remember what it is. All of our activities are 8 to 10, very short. They can do this on their phone, they can be at the bus stop. Instead of having a long drawn out activity that could fail, crash halfway through, a lot of short activities, and everything we do is automatically graded. Every single thing. So I don't have to go in and give feedback. This is one of the very few times where the students actually have to input anything. Because it's always like, oh, well, I left off an accent, or I capitalized the letter. We have none of that because we didn't want that to become a problem for the students. So now, we get into addition. So now we're going to hear two numbers. Okay, we'll add those up.
40 más 30.
So then some students are like, oh, but my math skills are so bad. What am I supposed to do? I think we do subtraction. I'm not completing these. That's asking. And then we start doing patterns. These are the ones. Okay, so we're going to hear a series of numbers, and then you have to figure out, okay, what goes next?
30, 40, 50.
That one's easy. 30, 40, 50.
Same.
Alright, say the same. Alright. Okay, so some of them are a little bit harder. So the students are interacting with all these numbers, they're hearing them, they can click, listen to them as many times as possible, all getting them ready. So now when we come into class and I say, hey, when does this activity normally happen in life? They're not thinking, oh man, what are all the numbers? Like, I don't know any of them. So now they bring them into the classroom. Alright, I think that's all we should do right now. We can come back. If you guys have any questions on this, we're gonna, yep.
And the students always do these assignments? Because we have this platform that is very similar to this one, but my experience is that most of my students do not go to this platform to do the activities.
So we have 2 remedies for that. Maybe 3, actually. Yeah, alright, I'll just say them. Number 1, this is a substantial part of their grade. So we have 0 tests or quizzes in class, and we'll talk about that some other time. Do some really cool piloting on putting them online and comparing the differences. Very interesting. Big part of their grade, number 1. Number 2, I don't go back over this information in class. So one of the hard things to break, especially in the very beginning of this flipped model, is if I say, hey, do all of this in class, and then we come to class, and half of the class didn't do it, and I just go back over and do it, they are going to immediately see, hey, I don't actually have to do this. Because professor's just going to go over it again in class really quickly. Yeah, we do a quick warm-up and do some stuff and build up. We do scaffolding in the classroom. But I'm not teaching them numbers in class. And they realize sometimes it's the first week or 2, and then all of a sudden they realize, oh, okay, I actually have to do this. And then we have these fun activities. I think that's it's motivating, like, hey, that was kind of a fun activity, right? We kind of forget that we're even supposed to be learning language, because these are really interesting topics. If I want to participate in that, this has to be done, or else I can't participate. And students kind of catch on to that in the beginning too. We can see that click, like, oh, they want to be a part of the conversation, but if they don't have the skills to do so, they get left behind, and that is motivation in and of itself.
Yeah, when you guys were talking, I was noticing how much fun you guys were having. And I assure you that if you're a 19, 20-year-old, it's relevant the same. It's just as relevant. And so, if you go to class and you see everybody else having fun talking about something, you're like, I don't have the vocabulary to participate. You're gonna go back home and you're gonna get up to speed, and then the next week you're gonna be able to jump right in because it's fun. You don't want to be the one not having fun, right? So I think that's a really great driver for people doing their homework at home.
Stephen, you said that it's part of the grade, but and then it's automatically graded, so the exercises are automatically graded in, I imagine that built the software that automatically.
This is actually using, so this is under the McGraw-Hill publisher, but it uses the Kia platform. Are you guys familiar with Kia? It's a really good quizzing feature. It's really clean. I think it costs maybe like $50 a year maybe for a teacher to have, and then you can have unlimited classes and students and stuff. So it's super, even if you don't have a software with your book or something, it has a great book and everything. It's really nice.
Okay, so that's how you grade it. It's part of the, what part of the grade? I mean,
Like what percentage of it?
Yes.
35% of the grade, 40% of the grade. But over the course, if you look here very quickly, I'm just going to scroll. These are all the supplemental activities that we did here. This would be for this is the first and second semester. Yeah, so our 150. So there are thousands of points.
So for each one of them, and they are automatically graded, or you
Every single one is automatically graded.
Okay.
So you guys a number as a teacher.
Yep, I just go in and look at the grade. I can go in and look at scores. I can go in and it gives me some metrics. I can say, everyone failed this part. Oh, maybe we should spend a little bit more time on something. So I can do that. I can see who does it. Every day before I go into class, I spend 2 minutes. Oh, 4 people didn't do this, or everyone did that. So I can really kind of adjust. I can adapt what I'm going to do in class based on how they perform, which is a great, proponent of having technology in the flipped class.
Can they practice until they're perfect?
They get 2 tries, 2 actual submission tries, but they can listen as many times as they want. That's what we want. As in terms of acquisition, the more times they hear this, the better. So hey, click away. And they're not super difficult. Some of them get to be a little bit more. These aren't here to this isn't like, hey, we're going to make sure that you've synthesized everything we've learned. This is your initial jump into this. So we want this to build confidence too.
Yeah, students get away from this and they say, I can actually do this. I can hear 2 + 2, I can write down 4, and I'm successful. So it's good. It's good confidence boost.
Any other quick questions before we jump back? So you've seen this without being video, but a lot of this is going to, a lot of the structure, a lot of the rationale behind everything is exactly how we want to use video and exactly why we want to use it too. So we'll flip back over to the video, and then any other questions we can talk about later. Yeah. Let's flip. All right.
There we go. Other things don't do as well. So there's not one right answer for this. As you'll see, we can have different programs for the video. But the goal, I guess my point here is, when you set out to produce videos, you want to know exactly how to fill in these 2 blanks. My audience will do blank after doing the video, because that's your rationale behind it, right? So if I'm creating a video for my fifth classroom, what is it that I want to get out of it? What is it I want my students to get out of it, and why? So this is always the first question you want to ask. Why am I making a video right now? Is it because my colleague says it's cool? Is it because there was this workshop and this guy talked me into it? Or is it because I have a clear purpose in making this? And we will answer this question for all the types of videos that we talk about. You can use videos in class. You can use them online. You can use them as part of a learning task. You can use them as a standalone introduction, as we'll see. But that's another thing that you want to figure out before you start to produce your videos. Is it going to be integrated in a learning task, and if so, how? And you also want to consider accessibility. How are people with disabilities going to be able to interact with this video? I don't know about here, but at Michigan State, there's right now a pretty big push on bringing everything, all of their content, all of your online content and in class to the level that is accessible to every single student with discrimination. And so videos are more time consuming to make accessible because they require scripting and subtitling. And so that is something that you want to have clear in mind how to do that before you make the videos, because it's a lot easier to do that as you produce the video than afterwards going back and like, okay, we made this video 5 years ago. I'm gonna have to listen to it and type what people are saying because I have no script and I have no way to make that script available to my students. So accessibility, at this point I would say it's something that you need to consider before you start doing videos. You want to add anything to that?
Yeah, well, a good case, we have a student who's taking our online Spanish course right now who has a disability and cannot hear. So, okay, we've got 2,000 audio activities all ready to go for anyone. And they say, hey, I can't hear any of these. What are my options? Like, I'm taking this class. Okay. We took this into account. This was before the big push, but every single audio that we use in the class, we have written out. Every single activity, before we coded them and put them online, we did in a Word document and then created a PDF. So then I was able to go in and just cut out the answers, leave the scripts up, and then present this document to the student and say, hey, here are all of the audio files right here. So there's still a little bit of work, but because we planned ahead, we saved ourselves a ton of work, right? Especially because we never hear about these things until, hey, the semester's starting, how do I access this? Yeah. Oh no.
If it's one video, okay, well, I'm gonna stay up all night and write a story, but if you have 1,000 audio files, that's something that can become people. So, a very general breakdown of video types. You can have videos that with the purpose of communicating with your students. You can have videos that have the purpose of distributing content or information. And you can have interaction videos, which we'll see are probably the most pertinent to what we are doing here today. So communication videos usually work best with either fully online or hybrid courses. The purpose of those videos is to establish a personal connection with your students, to introduce yourself, to communicate the goals of the course, maybe to anticipate questions and give a tutorial of the online environments. We got 2 links. You may have seen these already. Why don't you play the second one? These are the easiest videos to produce. But they play I think they play a really important role in, especially when teaching online, to put a face to the name and to make sure that students
Hi everybody, my name is Angelica Kramer and I'm the instructor for
So some of you may recognize a person here. Yeah.
Hi everybody, my name is Angelica Kramer and I am the instructor for AL 431, the European Fairy Tale Tradition. I work in the Center for Language Teaching Advancement here at MSU. I'm originally from Germany and grew up listening to and reading the Grimm Tales. I'm very excited to share my passion for fairy tales with you over the next 7 weeks. You can read more about me at the bottom of this page. Before we get started, let me tell you a bit about the structure of this course. The course is self-paced, which means that there are no fixed due dates for assignments, with the exception that all assignments need to be completed by the end of the semester. There are 6 main units, plus a short introduction and a conclusion. I would encourage you to complete 1 unit per week, or
So
you
she
can progress
goes through the course policies,
Don't
and
wait
then
until the
there's
last 2 weeks of the
going
semester to complete
a
everything. Course
tutorial
content units on the
of
left
the
side of the screen.
online environment.
When
Very
you
easy,
click on
very
a module,
simple.
it its contents will show on the right side of the screen.
Notice
Each
the length
module
of the
begins with a
video.
section that
It's only 2 minutes and 47 seconds. She previously had a video up where she looked into webcam the entire time, and it was a 10-minute long video. Students, I promise you, students never looked through that because it was not scripted and it was not well organized. It was like, I'm gonna hit record, I'm gonna talk, I'm gonna read my syllabus, I'm going to go through the online environment, very long. This video, we have to revamp it. All that we needed to do was make a script, come up with a plan of attack for the screencasting part beforehand, take a few screenshots, and then record it really quickly. Production value much higher. How long did it take us to make this? 30 minutes to an hour, maybe, of planning. This is a great example of a little bit of effort that goes a long way in making your initial impression a lot better than what it was before. So,
we can come back and see how that. So we established, obviously, in a fully online class, one of the biggest challenges is you have to establish that personal connection. That really helps nutrition, right? So we don't want all of our students. Oh, okay, I actually know who my professor is. And maybe I'll see him in the hall or something. I don't know. For her, it was really good. Expectations were very explicit, right? So I watched the video and I know exactly what has to happen, when it has to happen. And then, obviously, one of the purposes of this, if you are using technology, there's always going to be issues when students try to interact with something. I clicked here, I did this. So when we start making these shifts to teaching online, using more technology, our roles as instructors, now all of a sudden we're called on not to just be language experts, now we have to be technology experts too, right? So one of the best ways, instead of trying to send the same email to 15 different students 10 times, oh man, if I make a video, maybe we could try to stop some of this at the beginning. That way we'll have a much better, the students will have a better experience and the instructor will have a lot better experience too.
This is because it's totally asynchronous, this type of teaching. It's not synchronous, so you couldn't have a video conference to present your slides.
Yeah, you could do that if you were in a completely asynchronous online environment.
Okay, so this is asynchronous.
This is asynchronous. It's an online, they can work at their own pace, they're just going to watch this at the beginning.
Next up, content videos. So these are maybe not as relevant to us because as language teachers we don't tend to lecture very much. But we can show an example of Daniel giving a content video. Is anybody here? Would you say that that's TPRS-ish style?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Anybody here familiar with TPRS? So actually, you're listening more. You're the expert. You're listening more about TPRS.
I'm not an expert in TPRS. Total physical response
Through storytelling.
and through storytelling, or storytelling, however they tack that on.
So it's a way of giving students focused input, a lot of comprehensible input through storytelling. Basically, that's what it is. So this is going to be a video of Daniel telling a story, something that he could do in class, but rather than do it in class, he recorded himself with a webcam.
I think I was in Mexico.
You were
we couldn't
in
be in class, and we're technically not allowed to cancel class at MSU. So
Scripting and breaking down chunks of knowledge to like 5 minutes. What we got, we recently bought a teleprompter that works for an iPad. So we hold up the iPad in front of the person, and the text flows, and the person's just reading, and it's amazing. And so we prepare the text beforehand, we read it, we rehearse it, we make it really good, and then the person is reading it in front of a camera, and you can narrow down a 25-minute lecture to a 5-minute video just by doing that. And obviously that's really beneficial for students because they get less intimidated, much more likely to finish the video, a lot more focused and condensed. I think we can talk a lot more about the dangers in putting videos online. If I'm here and I'm talking to you, I can go on and on. There's a lot more contextual cues that help me keep you engaged that don't happen online. So I think the people that are watching that video right now are probably more bored than you guys here, because I don't have any way to give them feedback or for you to see their feedback, and you guys are nodding or excited. That's going to be very different. It's going to be more difficult for them to be engaged. If I wanted to deliver this presentation online, I wouldn't do it this way. I would sit down, I would script something, I would maybe interject a lot of other videos and B-roll and other ideas that could help with that, and maybe make it a 20-minute video. So I think that when you're really talking about concepts and lecturing on something, you want to be really careful on how much you are planning for the medium, because delivering content online and delivering content in a classroom is not the same thing. I can show you like 30 seconds of this. This is we made this online course for international students coming to MSU. They take the course before coming. It's training them on academic culture, basically. So speakers are speaking slowly, but the ideas are all relevant for them.
At most U.S. universities, email is a primary mode of communication. This means that professors will expect you to check your email multiple times a day. And this might be something that's hard to do because it's not something that you're used to doing. So, to make your life easier, the first thing you should do is forward your university email to your phone. This way, you'll know right away when an important email arrives. Now that you're set up, we should think about actually writing emails. When you're writing an email, there are a few steps that you should always follow. First, start with a greeting. All this means is that you should address and greet the person that you're writing to. For example, let's say you want to write to Professor Salas because you just found out you're failing her class. I'm thinking you should probably be nice to her. So you should begin with something like, "Dear Professor Salas," or "Hello, Professor Salas." Next, you should tell your professor who you are. Students forget this step all the time.
You guys want this video
How's
for
your professor
later? We
gonna
can
help
do
you?
it. This has been helpful in many
Tell your
times.
professor who you are and what class you're in. This is important because professor...
Yeah, our domestic students can use this information too. But yeah, so this is a 4-minute video, and it hits all the things that students need to know about coming to the US and the expectations that the professors have in email. I mean, if I do this in class, I don't have to do it in 4 minutes. I can have a 1-hour session with the students, and we can look at examples. But obviously, I can't just like take that class and put it online, right? I have to re-script everything for the medium. So I would say that going over this amount of time would probably not be. I think it's about diminishing return, right? The longer the video gets, the less you get for that time.
And sometimes doing these videos helps us when we do come back in a face-to-face content, right? Like, that's a video that I would probably use in class because I would just ramble on and they'd be like, oh, he's so demanding, he wants an email like this. But if I show this, then they're like, oh, okay, this is maybe something bigger than just me, my pet peeve about email. They might get on board. And, 4 minutes, super succinct, probably more succinct than what I would do. So this is actually going to start to influence the way I teach too. I wouldn't script it, but yeah.
Yeah, we scripted it because that was before we had teleprompter, so she actually memorized all those lines. And that's why we had all this time of speaker not being on camera. We had to cut in the B-roll of the guy at the bar, and it's because she couldn't memorize long enough, right? But now we can she can just read the teleprompter, and we don't need to spend as much time going on location getting B-roll. Although that's helpful too. It's not just there to mask the fact that she was reading. It's also there to help students understand and put like an image with the word. So there's a double function there. Any questions about this? Great. So moving on to interaction videos, which I think are going to be the ones that are most helpful for us. Basically, an interaction video is an example of conversation. It's In content videos, the speaker is looking in the camera and talking to the students. In interaction video, the actors are never, and this is probably what you were working on for your publisher mostly. Actors are not looking in the camera, they're not talking to the audience, it's like being on stage, they are acting some sort of scenario. And so these videos are really good for providing comprehensible input. Let's say you are, and we'll see an example right now actually. Let's play this.
Let me address one more thing
Yes.
too. So these kind of came about, you're going to show this guy?
Yes.
We have our online class, so they're just getting input. Our online class is only one semester. You can't get anything. You can't. It's credits, but you don't get out of anything. It's not a completion. So you always come back into the face-to-face class at the end. So for us, it's a review. It's a condensed review of Spanish. You're not a true beginner, but you're not really ready to go on. Maybe it's been a number of years. So it's just we call it an input slam. It's just a review. You go through everything. So there's actually no output to speak of. We're never testing the students if they can speak. What we're really concerned about at this level is input. But we notice one of the things that the students start to miss out on is this interaction. They don't see how discourse works. And this actually came back again to influence us in the classroom because, all right, we're always having our students talk to each other. This is a great way, but we always have to model this before we do it. And modeling is kind of a slippery slope because I'm one teacher and I have to model interaction with somebody. So it's always like, oh, who am I going to choose in the class? Is that going to be a good choice? Are they going to completely fail the activity that we're doing and it makes it worse than we started? So we're like, hey, what can we develop that would really help us show what we want students to do, and they get to see this first. So like me having a conversation up in front of the class may be funny for the first 20 seconds, the first time I do it, but after that it has no effect. So we developed these. There's no audio.
No?
Yeah, just one second.
Hola,
Hola, me llamo Judith.
me llamo Jonathan, mucho gusto.
Encantada. Y Jonathan, cuéntame, ¿qué te gusta hacer los fines de semana?
Bueno, me gusta mucho ir a los bares de East Lansing,
So he likes to go to the bar.
a veces
What
a
do you
la
like to do on the
discoteca.
weekends?
¿Y tú qué haces los fines de semana?
A mí los fines de semana me gusta más hacer ejercicio. Por eso voy al gimnasio o voy a correr.
A mí no me gusta hacer ejercicio.
Pero seguro que en la discoteca bailas.
Supongo que bailar es un tipo de ejercicio.
So then she tries to like tell them, but you go dance. That's exercise. Well, I guess so. So they're talking about what they like to do over the weekend. So this is one of those end goal activities where students, at the end of the day, should be able to say, I can tell somebody 2 or 3 things that I like to do over the weekend. And I can ask them what they like to do. So this is a really good video where they see people actually doing what they have to do. So they're not like wondering like, what's my teacher trying to tell me to do? Oh yeah, all I have to do is do exactly what they did. We can go back and forth, maybe I can introduce myself. Oh yeah, this is really good. So this is what we use to kind of help show that interaction for students. A lot more effective than if I'm going to try to do something with a student or on a device, something. Question?
Is this kind of video you show it in class or before class?
This would be in class. So we've actually scaffolded up to this point. So this isn't the first time. This is actually, we have, at the end of every unit, I guess you want to say, we have can-do statements where students come in and the end goal would be, I can say 4 things about what I do on the weekend. And so we're doing a couple things. They'll see this video, and then what we do in class is we use Google Voice. So they pull out their cell phones and they call me, and they don't know the prompt, the exact prompt. It's very similar to what we've been doing. And they'll hear, hey, how's it going? Tell me 4 things you like to do this weekend. And they have to leave a voicemail and say what it is they like to do. So we do that every 2-3 weeks as kind of a means, and they get graded. You can do it, you kind of can do it, or you can't do it. So it's just a 2-1-0, and then so this is what we'll use. We've done a few activities, we'll do this. We'll maybe do one more activity afterwards to synthesize that, and then they'll call. So they've seen this a number of ways.
So to give you an idea of what that video you just saw, how it integrates with activities before and afterwards, these are the
actual
learning
objectives.
objectives,
Yeah.
basically, the goals for the students. Students are able to say that I can tell someone what I like to do in free time, including sports, hobbies, and parties. And I can ask someone 3 to 4 yes or no questions about what they like to do over the weekend. So that's the starting goal, right? So like you saw earlier, there's going to be things that they do before watching. It's very similar to what you saw earlier. They're going to be listening to vocabulary about what happens exactly.
So the first one is. So this is just kind of making sure they got the information right. So who likes to do something when? Oh, okay, this is here. So we're still at that recognition phase. So just making sure they kind of comprehend that there. And then we're starting to build up to more comprehension here. So this one is decide. Listen what each person says and decide if this is a type of physical, is a type of exercise or not. Now, so we're getting back to what Jonathan was saying. Oh, I don't exercise. It's like, oh, well, you dance. So they're going to hear some activities. Someone like, I like to do this, and they have to say, oh, okay, yeah, that's a type of exercise, or that's not. So they're kind of interacting with that. Actually, this probably should have come before that. I don't know how it got switched around. We use these a lot, we call them discourse scrambles. So with the video, this is the actual script. Sometimes we do it without video and they just get a paragraph, but their job then is to put it in the correct order. So here they're more at that recognition, listening, okay, we want them to see this close, we want them to listen closely. So this kind of helps to make sure that the students are seeing everything that's going on there. So they put that in the correct order.
So that's why you also script, because then from the script you make the style of discourse come.
Yeah, and actually we had to come back and do this because that was loosely scripted. Luca wasn't in charge of that one.
No,
so.
this was dance students, so they were not scripted. Those were TAs in our Spanish program, and so basically all that Dan did was, hey guys, these are the exercises, this is the chapter we're looking at. I want you to talk about your weekend and throw in this vocabulary, and which is fine. I mean, it's totally fine. But then you don't have afterwards if you want to do stuff like this.
You have to
go back and write down what they said, which is.
Before being able to complete this activity, how many times did the students watch the video?
As many times as they wanted.
Yeah, when they're doing this online,
they actually have the video on top of this as they're doing this one, so they can just keep replaying.
Okay, so this one was presented in class.
These parts are before class, in the online class. So we use this both in class and online. And so I'll do a similar activity. I'll just not do as a screenshot. So we can do them online. We can do them in class.
Yeah, you can cut this up on a piece of paper and show the video, and then it's very easy to do in class, and it's very easy to do online as well. So you can adapt it to whatever.
And we love these, especially when we don't have a video. These discourse scrambles, because they test all kinds of things, right? So we've got vocabulary, we've got sentence stuff, we're starting to look at anaphoric reference, we can start how they're linking. We use this before we ever ask students to write. So we want to make sure students are good readers, understand sentence flow, discourse connectors before they start writing. So this is in the grand scheme of everything we're doing. We have to flip those around together. So these are some more comprehension questions that they would see after watching the video, right? So Jonathan doesn't like to exercise. So what does he do? So we're kind of getting a little bit more where we know one fact and then we're going to kind of say something about that. And then here we can just give some more comprehension. So in the video, are they secretaries, are they students, professors? So we're kind of recycling a bunch of vocabulary we've had, but just making sure that students are well aware here. And then we're going to kind of apply, so we've got this interaction application, so we're going to take the knowledge that we've seen, so we can say XYZ, we've seen this, it's very concrete. It's like, oh, so they're going to hear someone and they're going to give a description about what they like to do. Now students have to decide, well, is that person more like Jonathan? Or do you be? Like, oh, okay, which one? So now they have to like synthesize all of this information. So we're building this up, we're scaffolding this. So we do some before they watch the video, and obviously a lot during the video and after the video too.
So as you can see from this stuff, the value and the strength of this video is only dependent on the value and the strength of the entire activity that you've planned before. So that's where planning comes through. And Dan says he's not a good planner, but he is, because he's planned all of this, starting from the learning objective down to this application of the knowledge that students synthesize through listening and comprehension and watching the video and all those things. So the video itself can take hours or minutes to make, but the strength of it is only dependent on everything else that comes with the video.
And so it's a fairly good video, fairly interesting. Those TAs become famous then, well, at least until they leave. Right now, like, okay, students, I know him, or I've had people come and say, I saw him in the hall, and like, it's like their big time, right? Like students really. But yeah, like Luca said, if we don't have this good scaffolding on either side of this video, it's worthless. It doesn't have any okay, here's a video. Mm-hmm. If we don't do anything with it that's constructive, if we don't scaffold up to it, if it's not a clear point, if it's not a clear point in this learning objective, it's not good for anything. Really.
So it's not about making the videos. Yes, we can talk about how to set up the light so it doesn't look awful. What kind of microphone can you use? Yes, those are important, but those are easy to answer. You can Google those answers. But the big point is, how is this video going to work in your learning object, in your learning task, and how is this learning task actually accomplishing the objective for your students? So that's really what we want to drive home with this. Any questions? Yes.
And I don't really want to pull us at all in this direction, and so forgive me. But I do think that I'd like to know about the production value side of things a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It is, you talked about using the teleprompter, which I think is really interesting. At the same time, you can see people actually reading when they're using that.
Yeah.
So just that kind of question. Do you worry about that much? I didn't see that in the dialogue, but in Angelica's presentation, you see it a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's unavoidable.
Right. And there's as the more you do this kind of stuff, the more you learn that some people are better at not making it look like they're reading. Some people are like
Did you guys watch the Oscars? Yeah. Like some people are like real. Someone's like, "You're a great actor. Why can't you read a teleprompter?" But they don't have the skill. They're up there like mixing all their words. So it really is a skill. Some people we know. We have a few people are go-to people for reading teleprompters
and that's something you just learn by doing it. I think that if someone is really, really, really poor at doing it, you may ask, okay, thank you, and then you go find someone else, and then they do the video for you. So I would consider that as a factor. If it's just a little bit, I don't really care. I don't really care that the audience is like, oh, they're reading, therefore this video is not bad. That's not how my audience is going to interact with the video. But if it gets really, really bad, then
and I think the type of video too. So like an informational, like I'm taking you through the course, like students are like, okay, yeah, this is scripted. They'll probably like that better. Whereas, this interaction video, if they're both reading off teleprompters, like, yeah, they're gonna see through that a mile away before they even get there. So that you would want there to be a little bit more natural interaction.
And speaking to production value more generally, I think there's I mean, we always get a lot of pushback. Like, why do we have to buy an expensive camera? Can we just use our phones? Can we just use a web? Yes, absolutely we can. And there's a place for that, but it's also true that production value lowers the effective filter, and the first impressions are very important. I've done some reading on this. I can't cite the research, but there is research on this that shows that people that have a better first impression because of production value are much more forgiving if stuff doesn't work, and if stuff breaks, and if they don't like the content, like, are much more forgiving and much more likely to give you a higher rating. So I think there's a place for that too, and obviously it's figuring out, okay, how much is too much. Obviously we could spend thousands of dollars making this video or not. It's just, for us, it's just a little bit of an upgrade that makes a whole lot more difference in the production value of the videos.
If I could say one more thing, it's that our technology is getting better and better, and it's easier for the layperson to make high production videos,
Yes.
which means there's an arm race. And if we are going to use our phones, then, as you said, you've got to make that purposeful.
Yes.
Your intention is that it's going to look like an iPhone video.
Yeah.
And it's likewise, I don't know if you heard, that Kodak is coming out with a new Super 8 camera. And it's film, right? 1950s.
They're trying to stay relevant for Kodak.
But it's actually, it's going to be like vinyl,
Yeah.
vinyl records, right? And there's going to be a need for that, or a purpose, a place for that. So it's all like, it's tough to keep up with.
It's a balance. So I mean, on one thing with production value, and this is probably all of you who have a computer open right now. Okay, you're on the internet. How many tabs do you have open, and what different tabs do you have? Right? Oh, so I've got my Spanish class open, but then I've got YouTube and Facebook and all these other things. What keeps me locked into my Spanish tab? When the production value outside of what we're doing in Spanish is, I mean, there's so many more resources, so it's generally higher. So what are we doing that's captivating that keeps students there? You can do stuff with an iPhone. I mean, you can. If you know how to do it well, you can get away with some stuff. So,
I mean, I don't want to match the Hollywood productions.
It's not our job.
But I want my students to be like, oh, that's pretty nice. He tried. Like, if my student says that, I'm happy, instead of saying, oh, this is perfect video, I don't want to watch it. Oh, this is pretty nice. He tried. I appreciate that. I think that there's a lot to be said for that. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering how big your team is and how long it took you to create such a team, because I could probably get some good cameras here in the university, and I can maybe write a good script, but I don't know how to edit a video, and I think that this takes a long time.
You are seeing the entirety of the team.
We have a grassroots sort of approach where...
And we can definitely talk more about how to get started. I think it's one of the next slides, but to jump ahead. We just wanted to get started, and there was absolutely no resources and no team and no time. And so what I did was I made one video with my personal camera. I happen to own DSLR. So I made one video with my personal camera, and I just showed it to my boss. I showed it to Dan. I showed it to my colleagues. People liked it. Like, oh, can we do more of this? Can we just buy a camera that we all use it in order to use it? And that was the start, right? The first camera we bought was really crappy and really small and needed a lot of extra help. And then after several videos with that, like, oh, maybe we can buy a better camera. So we didn't start with saying, okay, we want to buy $10,000 of equipment and we want to hire 10 people. We didn't start that way.
No, we started very small.
And so you use for editing some program in the internet that you maybe downloaded or bought?
Right now we use Premiere Pro, which is part of the Adobe Creative Suite.
But
we started with iMovie. The first video, iMovie, which is free on your computer.
We used Final Cut for a long time. It was actually really sharp, really easy to use.
Final
Cut Pro is an Apple software that you can download for like $300 now.
It's like 200 or 300, but if your account uses it, you can put it on multiple computers, so which is nice. Whereas with Premiere, you have to buy licenses.
Yeah, Premiere is a lot more expensive. But at this point, we've worked for long enough that we we made a name for ourselves, and we just need for videos. We are regularly working on this stuff. But at the beginning, yeah, iMovie, small camera that didn't even know to use in the video mode, and a tripod, and way too long of a video. But
Luca was a photographer when he came to MSU. And I was like, hey, you gotta learn video, we're doing this stuff. And he was like, like, yeah, let's go for it. So yeah, we just started with some flowing stuff.
I'm not gonna show you the first video.
Yeah, I mean, even looking back at these videos that we did a long time ago, I'm like, oh my god.
The email video is the very first video that I did, and I was like, oh, maybe I can like do some B-roll. I mean, the video that you record somewhere else and put on top of the script. Maybe I can do some B-roll. It was the first time I ever did that. Oh, that's so cool. It took me a long time to make that video, but now I can do it in much shorter. Yes.
And we've supported faculty with video editing.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for years. We've been offering iMovie workshops. So we've done workshops, we've done one-on-one consultations.
Yeah, you guys have great resources here.
And so all the help you need is definitely available.
And I've done some things where I shot everything on my iPhone, and iMovie on the iPhone is actually getting pretty robust. It's kind of strange. Like, you can do a lot with it. You can add all your titles, you can do all your transitions, you can layer music, and it's like, okay, I haven't even left my phone yet. This is really cool.
I made a Christmas video with my family last year, only on my iPhone.
Yeah. Sometimes we challenge ourselves. Okay, Luca, do something on your iPhone just to make sure, because you can get this.
Yeah.
I need the next best camera. It's a slippery slope in this world. So, what is it that we actually need, and what can we do? And I think you guys said you guys had Linda.
Yes, we do.
Lynda.com is, we kind of went to school there. We should have a diploma.
We have a site license.
Really, so when you have to Google things, you never know the quality. YouTube, what's happening. Lynda.com, really robust. The login should be in there.
Oh, you already my login. Thanks.
We only have one now.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, so this is a really great software. It's a website there's a lot of tutorials, courses to learn about any sort of software. I learned photography on Lynda, I learned lighting, I learned composition, I learned video editing, I learned Premiere Pro, I learned iMovie, I learned Final Cut Pro, I learned Photoshop, all these things on here. So if we don't have a university license anymore, so you guys need to get on it because it's a great resource.
We have to beg for it.
Yeah, we have to beg our boss.
Yeah, I mean, a couple weeks ago, I came up into this audio problem I didn't know how to solve, and so I'm like, oh man, I gotta go to Lynda. So now I'm working on some of the finishing techniques on audio. So it just has a really robust. It gives you practice files that you can work with alongside people.
Yeah.
Pro tip: 1.5 speed. So research says that you can watch video at 1.5 speed. So not at the normal speed, 1.5, and still retain all the information. That's what we do. We fly through these things.
So if you have a 10-minute video, you can watch it in 7.5 minutes.
Right. Game changer.
Yeah.
So within Lynda, because it's all HTML5 now, you can click the speed that you want to watch the video in. Now I can't watch a normal speed video anymore. That's pretty bad.
Let's
go back to some of those.
So the next thing that we have for you is kind of like digging deeper in these kind of questions you guys are asking how to get started.
We can ask. So you guys can ask any other.
Yeah, you can ask any questions you have. But I would like for you guys to pair up, maybe 2 or 3 people, and kind of go through these questions. If you find some of the questions will be as relevant, hit the ones that you think are more relevant for you. And then we can, is this the last thing we have?
No, there's the...
Oh, yeah. So let's spend about, let's spend about 10 minutes in your groups working through these questions, and then we can come back together and talk about it. And again, if you guys want to go get a drink and continue talking.
There's actually coffee. I completely forgot. We made coffee. There's coffee, there's milk, there's sugar, and it's a little late for coffee.
And then any other questions you have, if you want to see if we, dedicate maybe 10 minutes at the end, maybe we could look at some sort of editing. Anything you guys want. So just a grab bag, we can pull up any sort of thing. But focus on these first, because I think this is really important. Like, your situation. okay, what kind of videos do we need? What does it look like? How do we even get started? Work with other people. This really helps. So take a few minutes and talk about that.
I think that the hot topics are gonna come out when we look at the last two questions. What I think you guys can talk about the first three and really focusing on your own. But let's talking about roadblocks of implementation, both in your own personal knowledge and maybe more institutional level. What are the roadblocks that you can foresee, and what can you do, or what can you plural, you all do to overcome this?
Come on, I was walking around, I heard time and resources, start, oh my
We
gosh.
have the model, the flipped model, which is not always adopted. So like we have 5 days face-to-face type of instruction. So first of all is having the opportunity to establish that.
Do you guys give homework in your 5 days a week?
Of course.
Okay. So it's almost like that, just that first shift of instead of homework as a review of what we're doing, it's homework as a preview of what we're going to do. Like, quick. And so I think it seems really daunting because you think, okay, my entire course has to completely change before I can do any of this. And that is not the case. If you just want to try to flip one lesson, hey, we're going to try this out. Okay. Then the next semester, okay, that worked out. Or maybe flip another one. And so be willing to put something out that's not completely perfect in the first iteration. We have to be okay with that. We've now been using these things. It took us 2 years to develop. And every year we go back and we're still tweaking things. What were we thinking? But we just wanted to get it out and go for it. Because otherwise you get stuck in this, well, it's not perfect, I can't do it, I need something else, and then nothing ever happens. So please, 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 just try something small, little by little. And this is something, I think another roadblock. You say, oh, well, the directors, the coordinators, I can't convince them of this. It's kind of like Luca saying, hey, I just made this video, you guys want to check it out? So instead of trying to convince them before ever having something to show them, I mean, this is almost kind of like the flipped model here in the way that we're going to present this. Be like, hey, work them up to something, show them, oh yeah, here's what this is how this works. I've already piloted this in my class, here's the data, here's the interaction, here's what students said, we did some qualitative, feedback afterwards. If you can go with that sort of, body of work and that framework, you'll have a lot easier time. I'm not going to say sometimes it is really hard. We even still get pushback within Michigan State from this. It's not, oh, everything's great over there. It's so easy. We have professors at the higher levels that are like, you didn't teach something the way I wanted you to teach that in the lower level. That's all we ever get. Nothing more than that. Okay. So there's pushback everywhere for this.
I would say don't let pushback. Don't use pushback to justify something that you didn't do. So you do your thing, and then if there's pushback, there's pushback. But don't make that a justification. Oh, there's gonna be pushback, so I'm not gonna do anything. That's not the best way to go about it.
We get pushback all the time.
We don't get pushback all the time. That's our natural environment.
And if you want to blame someone, blame all tech.
There you go. That's on video.
He said it.
Blame Mark Knowles. How's that?
We can do that in this mistake.
Yeah. Are we under that umbrella?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great.
What else?
Oh yeah, teamwork. So if I was trying to do all of this, it wouldn't happen. We're fortunate at Michigan State. We do have at least within our basic Spanish program, we had a really good, when we started doing this, we had a really good group of TAs. Everyone worked on all of the classroom activities together because we developed all these from scratch. Everyone worked on every single point. So now we have a Dropbox and repository, so any TA who comes in already has a launching point. One of the reasons we like to use this flip model from an administration point of view is it really minimizes TA effect. So we have a ton of TAs at Michigan State. So people will come in, they're here for a couple of years, and then they're gone. Like, what effect are they having on the program as a whole? So we're trying to minimize any effect that they can have, because now all the students are getting all of this really good quality input all the time. So that kind of helps minimize that. So now the TAs and instructors, their job is to focus on really integrating everything in the classroom. Now they don't grade very much. We've shifted their roles too. So the majority of their time is making sure the students get quality input. Things are scaffolded and that the students can reach the goals.
Maybe for you, some of the first steps that you can take is identify people that are like-minded and would like to work on one small project with you. It doesn't have to be the same language. It can be, we're going to take this lesson and I'm going to help flip yours, you're going to help me flip mine.
And Luca helps us all the time with Spanish videos, we help with ESL, we just get a whole bunch of people.
Your name made it on the thank you list for the ESL course, the online academic training.
I've never done anything again. We've used this model too, so we built this program in Spanish, and now there are other language units on campus that are taking this as a model too. So sometimes it's easier to start if we're going to work collaboratively where there is a larger pool of resources. So now a lot of our less commonly taught languages, a lot of course shares, a lot of things, have adapted the model that we've done, which they could have never have done in the beginning. But we said, hey, this is everything we've done, this is how we've structured stuff, and they're like, hey, can we kind of like build off of that and copy it? Yeah, sure, here you go. So they do, I mean, it's in different languages. Some things are a little bit different here and there, but structurally, this whole flip model. So you can be in contact with us if you want to know more exactly about how the flipped part works. We can talk about that. That's not on Linda.
There's actually there's a bit of it, but it's not for language. It's more for like instructional design in terms of like professional development at companies. There's a lot of that stuff there.
Flipped video started in Colorado, didn't it? I think in high school.
Yes, I think you're right.
I believe so.
Actually, she's gone, but she knows.
Yeah. When it became popular, I think that would have been around. The term got coined.
I know we have no time left at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to thank you as well for a wonderful workshop. I would love to hear more about how the graduate students work in that. I'd love to hear more about the testing or the non-testing and the non-grading and all that, because I think our graduate faculty would love to hear that their graduate students are maybe working a little less. Is that what I hear? Is that
they are working more purposefully? Okay, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But we have reduced the load. I mean, I'll go out there and say like they're not spending hours and hours and hours grading things. Like we want them to focus on their studies. And we want them to focus on, giving good input, giving good classes. So we've taken out a lot of that, like, busy work that kind of used to go along with it.
Before you put everything away, I want you to decide right now one concrete next step you can take to reach your goals. One step, one small step. Maybe it is contact person A to ask them if they want to be on my team. Or whatever it is, I want you to decide right now, and I want you to share your commitment on social media so you're actually making the commitment public. Because otherwise things don't get going, right?
Spring break will happen, the rest of the semester, and
decide something and make it public right now. Okay, then we will go online and we'll look for that. If we don't find at least 10 things, we will get a Google Play mark.
No one falls under the umbrella.
We are very excited about.
We have a commitment.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.